Friendship isn't about who stands beside you, it's about who you are within yourself. You see, most people in this world are trying to make friends because they are lonely, not because they are joyful. They are seeking someone to fill a gap inside them, not to share the fullness of who they are. When you look closely at this, it is a subtle form of dependence. It's not friendship, it's a kind of emotional transaction. You make me feel good, and I'll stay with you. The moment the other person stops fulfilling that role, the so-called friendship begins to crumble. This is why so many relationships, whether they are of friendship, love or even family, are fragile. They are built not on understanding but on need. When you are not at ease with yourself, you start looking around for someone to comfort you. You may find a person who listens to you, spends time with you or says the words you want to hear. For a while it feels warm, it feels real, but eventually the cracks begin to appear. Because the moment you depend on another person for your happiness, you have given them control over your inner state. Now your peace is no longer in your hands. If they smile at you, you bloom. If they ignore you, you shrink. Is this friendship or is this slavery? If you need another person to simply be okay, it means you have not yet become your own friend. To truly understand this, you must first turn inward. Everything that you seek in others, love, acceptance, care, attention, all of it can only blossom from within you. When you are not friendly with yourself, when you constantly judge, doubt or criticize your own being, how can you expect the world to treat you differently? Who may attract people who mirror your own inner confusion? So the first and the only friendship that truly matters is the one you have with yourself. Once you are at peace with who you are, once you are capable of sitting quietly and feeling complete just by being alive, then whoever comes into your life is not coming to fill a void. They are coming to share the space of your joy. That kind of friendship is beautiful because it's not based on need, it's based on freedom. Look around and observe. Most people's idea of friendship is rooted in comfort, not consciousness. They want someone who agrees with them, supports their stories, validates their emotions. They rarely want someone who shows them a mirror. But a true friend, in the spiritual sense, is someone who awakens you, not someone who pampers you. However, before you can find such a friend, you must become that kind of person yourself. You must become the one who doesn't cling, who doesn't possess, who doesn't expect. When you're okay being alone, when your joy is not shaken by absence or presence, that's when you can connect with others in the most genuine way. People say, "My friend betrayed me." But is that true? Did your friend betray you or did your expectation… You expected them to behave in a certain way and when they didn't, you called it betrayal. The pain doesn't come from the person, it comes from your own mind, from the attachment you created. Life is continuously teaching you one simple lesson: no one belongs to you. Everyone is here for their own journey. They will walk with you for a while and then they will walk away, just as you will walk away from many. If you can understand this, you will stop trying to hold people like possessions. You will relate without clinging, care without controlling and love without fear. When you are in deep friendship with your own consciousness, you don't need anyone to complete you. You don't chase after people to feel alive. You become like the sun, radiant by your own nature. And just like the sun doesn't need to beg for attention, yet everything naturally turns toward it, the same happens with you. People will be drawn to your presence not because you need them, but because you are a source of warmth and clarity. In this state, even if you are surrounded by thousands, or even if you live in solitude, your experience remains the same: peaceful, content, alive. The idea that no one is your friend may sound harsh at first, but it's actually a doorway to freedom. Because when you realize that no one is responsible for your inner world, you stop blaming others for your sadness and you stop depending on them for your happiness. You become the master of your own emotional climate. Think of it like this: when a flower blooms, it does not look around to see who will appreciate it. It simply blooms because that is its nature. If someone comes and enjoys its fragrance, beautiful. If no one does, it still remains fragrant. The same should be true for you. Your joy, your peace, your friendship should not depend on who is around you. It should be your natural fragrance. Then every relationship becomes a sharing of that fragrance, not a desperate search for it. The problem with most friendships today is that they are not built on awareness, they are built on unconscious bonds of dependency. People say, "I can't live without you." But that is not love, that is fear. It's the fear of facing oneself, of being alone with one's thoughts. And as long as fear is the foundation, no friendship can be real. Only when you can say, I am perfectly fine without you, but I still choose to walk with you, can that relationship hold any truth. That is the essence of freedom and the essence of freedom and the essence of love. When you are a friend to yourself, you don't live in constant comparison. You don't feel jealous of others' success or insecure about their opinions. You live with grace because you are rooted in your own being. And when such a person befriends another, that friendship becomes sacred. There is no need to constantly prove loyalty or affection. You simply exist together as two complete beings, not two half-souls trying to complete each other. This understanding doesn't make you cold or detached, it makes you truly compassionate. Because only when you stop needing people do you start loving them for who they really are, not for what they give you. You see their journey, their struggles and their freedom, and you don't interfere. You simply allow. That is the highest form of friendship of the spirit. So, if you wish to know what friendship truly is, begin with yourself. Sit quietly, observe your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns. Learn to be comfortable with your own silence. The more you become familiar with your inner world, the less you'll crave constant company. You'll begin to realize that the greatest friend you can ever have is awareness itself, the consciousness that watches everything but is never disturbed by it. Once you find that, every person who walks into your life will become a companion on the path, not a crutch to lean on. In that realization, you'll discover something profound. No one is your friend and yet everyone is your friend, because the division disappears. You are connected with everything not through need, but through life itself. You stop saying, this is mine and it is not mine. You just are open, awake and alive. And that truly is what it means to be your own friend. People come into your life not because they belong to you, but because life allows you to experience them for a while. This truth, though simple, is often the hardest for people to accept. We build our connections, our friendships, our attachments with a sense of ownership. We say, my friend, or my family, or my person, as if life has signed a permanent contract between us and them. But no one belongs to anyone. Every relationship is a passage, a meeting of two journeys that align for a certain distance before taking their own turns again. When you forget this, pain begins. When you remember it, love becomes pure, and relationships turn into blessings instead of burdens. Think about it. People appear in your life like travelers at a crossroads. You may walk together for a while, share stories, laughter, tears, maybe even silence. And then one day their road bends in a direction you cannot follow. You can either cry at the turn or smile for the walk you shared. The problem is not that people leave. The problem is that we expect them to stay forever. We have turned the beautiful flow of life into a cage of expectations. When someone tries to move, we feel betrayed. But betrayal is only a reflection of our own illusion. No one promised you permanence, you just assumed it. When you deeply understand that life is a continuous movement, you begin to see the sacredness of temporary presence. You realize that just because something doesn't last forever doesn't mean it wasn't real. The flower that blooms for one morning is as real as the mountain that stands for centuries. Its beauty lies not in its duration but in its intensity. In the same way, some friendships are meant to last a lifetime, and some are meant to touch your soul for a few moments and go. Both are equally valuable if you live them consciously. We often make the mistake of measuring relationships by time. How long we've known someone, how many years we've spent together. But time has nothing to do with depth. You can spend decades with someone and still remain strangers, or you can meet someone for a few days and feel an unexplainable connection that changes your entire perception of life. What truly matters is the quality of your presence in those moments. Were you truly there? Were you open, aware and alive? If you were, then every meeting, no matter how brief, becomes eternal in its essence. The reason relationships turn heavy is because we try to control them. We want people to behave in a certain way, to feel a certain way, to never change, never grow, never move on. But everything in existence is constantly changing. How can you expect a human being, a living pulse of life, to remain frozen according to your comfort? When you resist change, you are not protecting love, you are suffocating it. The moment you stop claiming ownership and start appreciating presence, love transforms into a living experience. It breathes freely. It becomes a space of freedom rather than fear. You see, when you treat people as possessions, you live in constant anxiety. You're always worried they might leave, that someone else might take your place. You try to hold on tighter, but the tighter you hold, the faster things slip away. Love is like holding sand in your palm. If you clutch it, it falls. If you keep your hand open, it's… That openness is what true friendship is about. It is not about control, it is about trust. You allow the other person to be who they are, even if it means walking away from you someday, because love is not about keeping. It is about giving space for life to move as it wishes. People are not meant to complete you, they are meant to reflect you. Every person you meet shows you something about yourself, your patience, your fears, your desires, your ability to give and receive. Each encounter is a mirror that life places before you. And if you look carefully, you'll see that everyone who crosses your path plays a role in your evolution. Some teach you through kindness, some through pain, some through silence, but they are all teachers in disguise. The wise one learns from every meeting, while the unwise keeps complaining about why people change. Imagine your life as a vast river. People step into it, swim beside you for a while, and then step out. Some may return later, some may never come back, but the river never stops flowing. If you keep looking back at where someone left, you'll miss the beauty of the journey ahead. Life doesn't owe you permanent company. It offers you temporary companionship as a gift. If you can live with that awareness, every person becomes a blessing. Not a possession, not a loss, but a beautiful chapter in the story of your soul. In this understanding, gratitude replaces attachment. You no longer say, "This person is mine." You say, "How wonderful that life allowed me to know them." You don't suffer their absence, you celebrate their presence, however short it was. This is not coldness, it is clarity. It is seeing love not as a chain but as a fragrance, something that cannot be trapped but can fill every space it touches. You will also realize that the more you appreciate presence, the deeper your connections become. Because when people feel they are not being controlled, they naturally open up. They trust you. They feel free to be authentic, and in that authenticity, true intimacy is born. Ironically, the more you allow people to go, the more they want to stay, because freedom is the highest form of love. The ego wants to own, the soul wants to share. The ego says, "You are mine." The soul says, "You are a part of my experience." When you live through the ego, every departure feels like death. When you live through the soul, every encounter feels divine. You stop seeing life as a series of gains and losses. You see it as a dance, people coming and going, laughter and tears weaving together, each moment adding depth to your understanding of existence. And here's the beauty, when you live like this, you are never lonely. Because even when people leave, their essence remains as a fragrance in your memories, wound in your heart. You no longer depend on their presence to feel whole. You realize that everything and everyone that comes to you is simply life expressing itself in countless forms. You learn to bow in gratitude to every encounter, knowing that it was never random. It was exactly what you needed at that point in your journey. This awareness brings tremendous peace. You no longer fight the natural flow of life. You no longer cling to what is going or chase what is coming. You just remain available to whatever life brings, open and receptive. And in that openness, you find the true meaning of love. A love that is not about possession, not about duration, but about presence. So remember, no one belongs to you, and that is not something to mourn, it is something to celebrate, because if no one belongs to you, it also means you belong to no one. You are free. You are not bound by the weight of expectations. You are not trapped by promises that were never meant to be eternal. Oh, you are free to love fully, to give completely, to experience deeply without the fear of losing anything. When you stop claiming ownership and start appreciating presence, you begin to see that every connection, every friendship, every fleeting encounter is a gift that life gives you out of grace. It is not yours to keep, only yours to experience. And when you live like that, you will know the sweetness of love without the bitterness of attachment, the joy of friendship without the fear of loss. You will walk through life not seeking to hold people but to honor them, not to possess them, but to truly see them. And that, in itself, is the purest form of friendship life can. The real companionship is not found in another person, it's found in awareness. Most people think friendship means finding someone who understands them, supports them. makes them happy and stands by them no matter what. But if you look deeply, all of this is an unconscious search for stability. Human beings are constantly seeking anchors in other people because they have not yet discovered the stillness within themselves. They think someone else will give them peace, someone else will complete them, someone else will take away their loneliness. But how can anyone do that? If you are restless inside, even the most loving person cannot quiet your mind. If you are empty within, even the most caring friend cannot fill you up. The only true friend you can ever have is awareness, that silent witness within you that never leaves, never judges, never changes. When you close your eyes and watch yourself for thoughts, emotions, fears and desires, you start to realize that there is something within you that remains untouched by all of them. That presence is awareness. It is not a thought, not a feeling, not an identity. It is the pure space in which all of these things happen. It watches joy and sadness, success and failure, meeting and separation, without being affected by any of it. That awareness has been with you since birth, and it will remain even when everyone and everything else has passed. If you can befriend that awareness, you will never again feel lonely, because you will know that what you seek in others has always been within you. When you are unaware, your relationships are like waves in a stormy sea, constantly rising and crashing. You cling to people when you feel low and you push them away when you feel high. You expect others to fix what you yourself don't understand. This is why relationships become complicated. But when awareness dawns, the sea inside you becomes calm. You begin to relate from clarity, not confusion. You no longer reach out to people because you are needy. You reach out because you are overflowing. You don't seek love to feel whole. You share love because you already are. Awareness transforms how you see others. You no longer project your insecurities onto them. You no longer demand that they behave in ways that suit your emotional patterns. Instead, you start seeing people as they are, unique expressions of life, each walking their own path. And when you see them through awareness, you don't try to change them, you simply allow them to be. You realize that the same consciousness that lives in you also lives in them. In that recognition, true friendship begins, not between two egos, but between two beings. If you are constantly searching for friends to fill the emptiness within, you will keep getting disappointed. Because no one can walk into the space that only your awareness can occupy. You might gather hundreds of people around you, but if you are not at ease with yourself, you'll still feel alone in a crowd. On the other hand, if you are deeply connected with your own consciousness, you can sit quietly in solitude and feel a sense of communion with all of existence. You'll realize that friendship is not a bond between two people, it is a state of being. It's when the boundaries between a you and a me start to dissolve. Think of awareness as the light of a lamp. The lamp does not choose what to illuminate, it simply shines. Whether it falls on a flower or a stone, its nature doesn't change. In the same way, when you live with awareness, your friendship, your love, your compassion, all of it becomes unconditional. You don't love people because they make you feel good. You love them because that's your nature. You don't need them to complete you, you share your completeness with them. This is the shift from emotional dependence to spiritual friendship. Shwa. When you live unconsciously, you create drama. You interpret every word, every silence, every gesture. You say, oh, my friend ignored me, or they don't care about me anymore. But when you're aware, you stop reading stories into situations, you see things as they are. If someone is distant, maybe they are going through something. If someone is silent, maybe they are resting in their own space. Awareness gives you the ability to respond instead of reacting, and that's when your relationships mature. They are no longer based on insecurity but on understanding. In awareness, there is no "I in yours", there is only life it's only life expressing itself through different forms. The friend you call a meanie today was once a stranger, and someday they will again become part of the larger flow of existence. You cannot hold them forever, but you can meet them with awareness now. You can share your truth, your joy, your presence fully, not because you fear losing them, but because you know you never really own them. You only share a moment in eternity. This realization brings a sweetness to every connection. When you meet someone, you meet them as if it's the first and last time, completely, consciously, without holding back. When you part with gratitude, not regret, because awareness teaches you that no moment repeats itself. Each encounter is unique, each person is a mirror reflecting a different aspect of your consciousness. The more aware you are, the deeper your capacity to love becomes and the less you suffer in love. Awareness also means you stop chasing people who don't align with your growth. You stop forcing connections that drain you. You understand that silence can be as nourishing as company. You begin to enjoy your own presence. Sitting quietly, watching a sunset, listening to your breath, these become acts of friendship with existence itself. You realize you are never truly alone, because life is always with you, pulsing through your every heartbeat. And something magical happens when you live this way. You attract people who are also aware, also grounded, also joyful from within. You no longer find yourself surrounded by noise but by depth. Conversations become meaningful, time together becomes sacred. You don't need to constantly entertain or impress. Just being in each other's presence feels enough, because awareness recognizes awareness. It's like two candles lighting up the same space. Even when conflict arises, awareness keeps you anchored. You no longer fight to prove who's right or wrong, you simply observe what's unfolding. You see how the mind wants to create division, how the ego wants to win. And when you see it, you don't feed it. You allow understanding to grow instead. Awareness makes you humble. It shows you that you too are learning, that everyone is doing the best they can from their level of consciousness. This humility keeps relationships alive. Ultimately, the highest form of friendship is not between two people but between you and life itself. When you live in awareness, you see the universe as your friend. The trees, the wind, the sky, the stars as stars, everything becomes part of your companionship. You don't feel separate from existence anymore, or you don't need someone to talk to in order to feel connected. Just breathing, just being becomes enough. This is what Sadhguru often points toward, that when you wake up to who you are, when you realize that the source of life beating in your heart is the same source beating in all hearts, you no longer seek friendship out of loneliness, you share yourself out of overflowing joy. You become like a river, always moving, always giving, never holding back. Whoever comes to your shore drinks from you, and when they leave, you continue to flow, full, free and alive. To live in awareness is to live in friendship with all that is. The wind that touches your face, the stranger who smiles at you, the silence between your thoughts, everything becomes your companion. You realize that life itself is walking with you every step of the way. And in that realization, the search ends, because you understand that the truest friend you ever needed has always been right here, not outside but within, silent, vast and eternal. When you look closely at life, you'll realize no one has ever truly been yours, and yet everything has always been with you. The friends who left, the ones who stayed, the moments that broke you, the silences that healed you, all of it was life shaping you into awareness. You don't need to chase people to feel alive, you need to wake up to the life that's already burning inside you. Stop waiting for others to understand you, understand yourself. Stop searching for someone to stand by you. Learn to stand still within yourself. Because the day you become your own friend, you'll stop fearing loneliness and you'll start celebrating aloneness. You'll see that you were never alone, you were simply unaware. The world doesn't owe you friendship, it offers you experiences. Every person you meet is a message. Every goodbye is guidance. Every pain is a teacher. Every smile is a reminder that you can still bloom. Don't cling to people, cling to consciousness. Don't seek approval, seek clarity. Don't chase love, become love. The one who is aware doesn't beg for company. They radiate such energy that even silence becomes their companion. The one who is awake doesn't complain about who left, they thank life for showing who truly belonged. The one who knows themselves doesn't build walls, they build presence. So rise above the noise, be so grounded that no absence shakes you, and be so alive that your very presence heals others. Remember, no one is your friend, and yet, in truth, everyone is. Because when you awaken, the entire existence becomes your companion. The sky becomes your roof, the wind your messenger, and life itself, your eternal friend. Stand tall in your solitude and you will never stand alone.